Welcome to an IEXIST podcast. Our entire mission can be summed up in one phrase: becoming all that we are. It is our belief that fulfillment doesn't come from changing into things you aren't, but rather from becoming everything that you already are. And ultimately, we're here to press and empower you to lead lives that are full of fulfillment. We've dedicated this specific podcast to the dream. Not to having the dream or even talking about the dream, but to living the dream. The reality is that there's a stark difference between having a dream and manifesting one. Here you'll gain insight and wisdom keys directly from some of the water walkers of our generation, dream practitioners, those who have decided to tread paths where there were none, to step out into only what they could see. Come take a peek into the minds of some who, from within, create our world's most magnificent realities. I'm the creator and host, Brian Farr, and this is the Living the Dream podcast. Hey, welcome to the fourth episode of Living the Dream podcast. Again, I am your host, Brian Farr. If this is your first time tuning in with this today, first of all, again, welcome. And thank you so much for listening today. If this is your second or third time listening with us, I encourage you to go back and get all of the valuable information that's conveyed over this podcast. And also thank you. If you've tracked with us the entire time, I really appreciate you. And of course, cannot wait to share more information with you today. All right, I'm going to jump straight in. So if you're listening, I'm very certain that you've already seen the title of the talk today, which is The God Factor. First of all, I want to say this is not an ad or anything of that manner for any type of religion. I do personally believe that faith is an important part of living the dream and success itself, true success. But at the same time, I'm not endorsing any religion or anything like that today. So in short, if you are not at the place of believing in God or anything, trust me, there's more than enough valuable information for you to be able to listen to the podcast and leave it with a better understanding and knowledge of either life or success itself. I really didn't want to get too far into any idea of living a dream, living the dream that is for your life, or gaining any manner of success without giving you the two sides of the coin of success or living the dream. And those two are one side having to do with what you'll realize and know as a practical or pragmatic side to success, to living the dream. But there's also almost an intangible side to it too. And some of you may call it luck. Some of you may see it as serendipity or something of that manner. But there's not one truly successful person, not one person who has truly lived out a dream. And I want to really explain that word truly. I'm saying that for a reason. There's no one that's truly done that without those two being in play. The intangible side of it, which I'll consider the faith side of it, or the, again, yes, intangible side of it, and then the side that's very practical, very pragmatic in nature. So let me quickly define for you what I mean by truly living the dream or having true success versus what I would consider to be almost a pseudo success or a false success. So there's a major difference, and there are some of you, or if it's not you, you definitely know someone who is living life this way. The way to pseudo success is one in which you're trying to get the outside to come in, right? So what that means is you're going to paint a picture for people, or you're going to try to buy success, all right? And it doesn't work long term. And that's the problem with it. So you're going to manipulate, you're going to play a game of perception, and you're going to try to buy friends. You're going to try to buy followers, either by trying to get them to like you or using money itself. You're going to show an appearance of having money. You're going to show an appearance of having close friends in high places, which may not care about you, but you're using each other to find leverage with one another without having to be actual friends. You're going to, again, manipulate your way into certain situations just to create an appearance, an illusion to people around you so that they can see you as successful and start to pay you for it, whether it's in attention or actual physical money or in following you. whatever the end goal is, you're trying to accrue success with an image, and you're trying to get success from the outside in. Now, this is a false pseudo success, and it does not last long. It only lasts for as long as whatever trends that you're following or using to get them last. All right. So if you are successful because you built an audience of 1 million followers on a certain platform, when that platform changes, if you do not embody success, all of a sudden lost your success, which means that now, because the trend has changed, you do not have success anymore. And that is a losing success. That's not a true success. True success works itself from the inside out. All right. And so when you are principled as a person, when you've done the work in yourself, when you embody the principles, the wisdom, the mentality, the fortitude, the strength that it takes to create success, then all that there's left for it to happen is for you to manifest it, right? But it's not predicated upon how many cosigns you have, or really even how much money you have. You can work this wealth outside of you from the inside out. That is a long-term success, because no matter what the trends are, because you embody success itself, no matter which way the winds blow. And this is important for me to say during these changing times, because if you don't get certain things in you, if you don't embody success itself, if you don't embody the dream and just learn to manifest it, and it not be predicated upon the crowd that's around you, or the people who endorse you, or the money that you have physically, then everything about you and your success will always be short term. All right. So when you embody success, when you have become success, become a success, become the dream on the inside, and work that outward by manifesting it, it's almost like a flowering. It's a blossoming over time. The physical attributes of it will come, but they won't come because you need it to be political and just make a bunch of people like you and pay you because they like you, and then later try to control them so they won't leave you. This is about you being the truth, you being your authentic self, you bringing the dream to life by not just envisioning it, but embodying it, right? You becoming everything that it takes, the principles, again, the wisdom, by doing the work, cultivating the trust in yourself, cultivating the self-esteem and the courage to bring the dream to fruition, again, without having to go through a process of codependence or anything like that. Again, no matter what you lose, you can never lose the success and lose the dream when it is you who are the dream, when you embody the dream itself. And that's a true success. And there's a part of this process to gaining absolutely true success that, again, I did not want to leave out before I go into any major conversations and talks that include very practical application, but don't involve, again, what I consider the other side of the coin, which is one that is much more intangible. All right. So again, you can already hear it in my conversation, in my language, by saying you have to embody the dream first. There's such an intangible side of it that has to be there in order to really, truly become successful. All right. And so I needed to say that before I take you into any major conversations about success in the future.
Writer, producer, artist, coach, and inspirational motivational speaker, Brian Farr takes us on a deep, retrospective, and introspective journey ranging from his childhood until life today that invokes the question, will I live a life of significance or one of safety? Filled with experience-gained wisdom and revelatory insights, A New Home dares its readers to ask themselves the hard questions concerning their need to fit in. How far will you go? And will all the efforts you've made be worth it in the end? This perspective-shifting discourse is a must-read, and through its hard-hitting yet relatable, tear-jerking, and even at points comical nature, may prove to be more of a life-changing event than just a good Sunday morning read. Get your physical copy or digital copy today at Amazon.com.
So with that being said, what I am calling that intangible side, what I'm labeling again, or calling that intangible side, is the God factor. All right. And I want you to view that in two different ways. First of all, no matter whether you acknowledge God or not, you know that it is an absolute gift, first of all, that we are able to wake up every day, the opportunity to live life, the opportunity to even have a dream. If you really thought about it, the fact that you can even think, the fact that you can even dream at all, the fact that you can live a physical life in which you can manifest things that are intangible. And what I mean by intangible, the things that are in your mind, that are in your imagination, period. The fact that you can do that is of itself a miracle. And so there will be people who have never heard my voice before until they hear this podcast. Let's say they're across the world. All right. Them not knowing that I was here until they heard my voice through this podcast didn't mean I didn't exist. All right. Them not acknowledging my existence didn't mean I wasn't there. All right. But one thing is for sure, when this podcast comes into play in their life, there's obviously some things at work that were able to get it to them. All right. In the same sense, we have to acknowledge that type of grace that is on everybody's life. All right. That you do have the ability to not only live, not only dream, not only live the dream out, but there's also a side of it that says you have the capability to even manifest it, that you have certain gifts, that you have things that you naturally do well. And your dream should tie whatever those gifts are into itself, in which you're using your gift to actually manifest your dream. I won't be going too deep into these things because we're mainly talking about one thing today. And I could have taken a rabbit trail there, but I won't. But you acknowledging that there is some type of grace that is allowing you to wake up again, eat, live life, whatever, do things to sustain yourself, everything is going to help you understand everything I'm saying about this whole intangible side. There is an intangible side to living a dream, right? The fact of the matter is that phrase is even saying that there's a practical and an intangible side. Living, which comes across very practical, that means walking out, that means manifesting. The dream, which has to do with a non-physical portion. In the same way, for any true success to happen in anybody's life, for there to be, no matter who it is, no matter how they told you it happened, which I know it's always said that hard work, is key. And so much of it is. I think for people who struggle with the idea or struggling with becoming successful, normally I notice a pattern in which they are struggling with the practical side of themselves, right? Which means that there are a lot of factors that they could control, that they could implement, principle that they could change patterns, and they could work not just harder, but smarter. So focus that work in a direction that's going to progress them and their family and the world around them. And they do not, and they choose not to, because they don't see that they can actually control those areas, right? So they're taking less action than they should because they are falling victim to a lot of the circumstance around them. All right. So again, the working hard, the taking control, all of that is a very real thing. But for anybody that has true success, again, what's also very real is that there was an intangible side to it. Secondly, what I mean by the God factor is that there was so much that we could do, but there was so much that we could not arrange. If you think about the immense amount of things that could happen to any person on any given day, all right, you could go outside, and if you just start saying, what if, you can imagine a million different scenarios and still not exhaust the amount of things that could happen to you any given day. What if a rock just fell out of the sky and hit me in the head and killed me? All right. Or what if a bird did the same thing? Or what if a car ran off the road, all of a sudden? What if, this is a funny thing. I guess I have to say it out loud because I laughed out loud, but I was thinking about the whole thing that we said as kids, right? Step on a crack, and break your mother's back type of situation, which is super funny. But again, if you just start going into what if scenarios and that became one of them, I mean, a million things could come to your mind. So think about how many things have to be in line, have to be in order for you to, think about the many success stories that you've lived and that you've heard, and how there was an element of perfect timing, that if I didn't run across this person at the right time, if I didn't prepare for this opportunity in the way that I did, that I didn't even know was coming to me at this particular point in this particular day, there's enough footage on YouTube and Instagram or whatever social media platform that you're using, TikTok, to see the amazing things that have to be aligned for certain stories to even happen. What made a person create a platform that I could become a YouTube sensation or a YouTube star? And I'm speaking for somebody else. I'm not currently a YouTube sensation. I'm just saying this out loud for somebody else. What made them create that X amount of years ago? Let's just throw a number on it to say 10, 15 years ago, or begin to work on something like that now enabled me the possibility. How many things have to come together with so many generations that have already been lived? What thought had to come to the person's mind that made them turn left on the road, that made me meet up with them, and this became my best friend? Let's not even go to successful type of thoughts or, reaching some type of goal or dream. Let's just think about the serendipity, what many of you may consider luck, that has to happen for so many things to align at one time. Even the fact that you're listening to my voice about this very thing, how many things had to align in order for that to happen? When did you have to be born? What did you have to become interested in? What did someone have to do? Did they have to share this particular podcast? Did you have to find it again from somewhere across the country? There are too many factors to fully take credit on your end. I know you can say, well, I'm looking to better my life. I started looking up self-help podcasts. I started to try to listen to more positive things on a regular basis. And so I looked this up and I did this. But again, there's a part of it that you cannot take credit for, which is the fact that I'm actually speaking it to you. All right. So there's always a side of it that you were not in control of. Right. And again, the intangible side of your part, the part that wasn't practical on your end, although you needed the hard work, although you needed to do all of the right things, and that you needed to take personal responsibility, and you needed to make sure that you were keeping certain bad, negative vibes, elements out of your life. You needed to change your habits. You needed to change your patterns. You needed to control everything that you could. There is also a certain amount of result that could not be generated by your effort, no matter how much you put forward. So again, we are not talking about people who manipulate, because listen, again, I believe true success is long lasting success. All right. One that cannot be, again, torn down with any winds of change, any time, circumstance, anything like that. Again, when you're manifesting this from the inside out, all right, there's nothing that can take that away from you because you embody it. All right. So when we're talking about that true success that doesn't die with trends and you have to hop on the next one, or you lose an endorsement or somebody around you or something like that, if you cannot recreate it based upon the authentic self that you are, then it's not true success. So we're not talking about that. Right. Because I don't know if there's a God factor to that. All right. To be honest with you. And again, so it's not able to be sustained. Truth is always everlasting. Real principles will always outlast anything else. Any type of lies are fading, right? So when I create perceptions and do things like that in order to create success, those will always fade over time. Eventually, everybody's going to find out that the emperor doesn't have any clothes. All right. If you haven't read that story, it would be a good thing to read to kind of have insight to what I'm saying. But again, when it's real, no matter how much work you put in, there is always a side for you to even have the dream. When it's a real dream, you didn't put that in yourself. You didn't just happen to imagine that. And if you think you did just happen to imagine it, again, how would things just align with it physically just from simply imagining it and you taking a step towards it? When things kind of align themselves with it. I said in the first podcast that the universe backs your decisions, or backs our decisions. And how would that be possible? How would forces you cannot control all align with our decisions if there was not an intangible side to it? And so I just wanted to be very clear in moving forward that, to me, real faith is an essential part of real success. And I don't want to put you out there in a way that you are trying without any type of real reserve of true faith in you, because you're going to get discouraged along the way. You're going to stop. You're going to quit. You're going to not have the belief you need in order to get through this. And you have to understand that there is another side to this. All right. And you're going to fall weak and ultimately short of any goal you have if you don't understand that let's take this to dealing with physical plants or something like that. All right. You can control the seeds you put in the ground. All right. You can control how much you water them. All right. But you cannot make the actual seed itself grow. There is a part of it that's for you intangible. And there's a side of it that says, I can do as much as I can, but first of all, nobody owes me anything. So I won't approach this with any type of entitlement. And there's a side of this that I cannot control. All right. And so I'm going to keep planting. I'm going to keep putting my feet forward in hopes and in knowing that I'm not planting things in vain, even if it doesn't come up when I want it to, or how I want it to, or does exactly what I want it to, because I'm not in control of every side of it. All right. Then I have to go along with this process, understanding again that, and this is just what I'm calling it. Call it what you would like, whatever you want to, or however you can conceive it. All right. There is a God factor to this that I need to be constantly aware of, not so that I become too reliant and don't put in hard work, but so that I don't go too far into trying to manipulate success or create a success that is not long lasting. All right. So that I don't go too far into, again, we're still talking about doing all the work that's possible. All right. I said a phrase a long time ago publicly. I said that you need to do work as if it's all on you, but you have to believe as if it's all on God. That's the two sides of the coin. There's a humility that comes in when you understand there's a side that you cannot control, that you don't go around and start trying to control people and make them make you successful or anything like that. Keep your hands to whatever work you're doing and work efficiently, effectively, get your skill as great as you can. Again, having the humility to know that when success comes, that when it manifests, that first of all, you are ready for it because you worked long enough, that you put your hands to something long enough that you can sustain whatever comes. And not only that, that you can be grateful and have gratitude when it comes because you know that it wasn't all you. All right. There's I don't care what you call it. All right. I'm calling it the God factor. That is what I know and realize it to be. Whatever you call it, please understand there's another side to this that you have to acknowledge in order for you to have sustained success. All right. So I wanted to leave you with that. This is not to cause you to become codependent on something that is intangible. This is for you to have humility within the process, understanding that, again, that the grace you have to even complete the dream, the opportunity you have to even live it out, the result that comes on the other side. Again, it's not something you can conjure up. This is not something that is manipulated. This is something that's an absolute gift. And when you can go into trying to gain success or living out the dream with that mentality, you're going to come out better completely on the other side of it. That there is some reliance on the intangible that says, I can do all I can do, but I know that there's a grace that has to match my efforts. That's going to do more for me than I can do for myself. And that to me is the God factor. All right. I appreciate you all for listening. Chew on this. And that's just a metaphor to say, like, meditate on it. Take whatever you can from it. And again, I appreciate you for listening. As always, I pray your way is made prosperous. And until next time.